Hey, Internet Explorers. I have a question for you. Have you ever wondered what it's like to stir up chaos on X, formerly Twitter, without breaking a sweat? Well, today we're building a bot that spits out conspiracy theories crazier than your uncle's Facebook posts. Let's dive in. Alright, so here's the deal. Today we're about to automate the kind of conspiracy theories that make political debates look like kindergarten arguments. Why? Well, because the world clearly needs more chaos. And who is better to bring it than the bot we code ourselves? We are going to use Python, ChatGPT, and Twitter's API to stir the pot, so get ready. By the end of this, we'll have a bot cranking out conspiracy theories faster than politicians flip-flop on campaign promises. Here's what's going down. We're building a Twitter bot using Python that scrapes news headlines. We will pick a random one and use the magical powers of OpenAI to prompt ChatGPT to spit out the most ridiculous, believable, and completely unhinged conspiracy theory. Now, to make that happen, we gotta step back and break this down into smaller pieces, because that's how adults handle problems, or so I heard. The goal is to post these conspiracy theories on Twitter. For that, we need three key ingredients: a news outlet we can easily young headlines from, a prompt generation system to get ChatGPT spinning its madness, and a mechanism to post on X using their API. Here's our game plan. Step 1. Scrape headlines from a news website. Step 2. Generate conspiracy theories by feeding those headlines to ChatGPT via OpenAI API. Step 3. Post these conspiracy theories via Twitter's API. One might say it's perfect, but not us. No, we're taking this a step further. We're going to feed the conspiracy theory back into ChatGPT and ask it to hashtag the hell out of it. People, places, events, you name it. Gotta give it the best chance of going viral, because after all, nothing says success like hashtag Illuminati confirmed. Now that we've got a solid plan, let's execute it. But first, we need a few key libraries to bring this curse creation to life. Step 1. Python. If you are not running Python yet, I mean seriously, how did you even get here? It's a coding channel. For our scraper, we'll be using the library called HTTPX and another library, LXML. HTTPX handles requests, while XML is the magic that lets us query HTML using XPaths. Yeah, I know there are other libraries out there, but I'm a creature of habit. If you want a more detailed breakdown why I use these two, drop a comment below and maybe I'll make a video explaining web scraping tools. Or I'll just keep using them and pretend it's obvious. Next up, we'll need Tweepy to talk to Twitter's API. Yeah, it's called Tweepy, not XEP. Maybe they just give up at this point. I know I would. For the magic of AI, we'll use OpenAI's official library called, well, OpenAI. They really nailed the branding here, huh? And here's where I confess. I'm not as strong or manly as the hardcore devs out there. I don't use pip, I use poetry. Yeah, I know it sounds fancy, but it keeps things organized, so don't judge me. Also see me using a few extra libraries here and there, but those are just for the convenience. The four I mentioned before, HTTPX, LXML, Tweepy, and OpenAI, are the only ones that matter for this project. And as always, you'll find all of the code in the GitHub repo linked in the video description below. If you're like me and you're using Poetry, you should be able to install all of the required libraries by running this command. If you're a manly man and rocking pip, I hardly doubt you need one, but still, here's the command you'll need. When we have our required libraries, we need to set up a few things, them being OpenAI client and prompt generation functions. Remember, we're doing one prompt for the initial conspiracy and another for the hashtags. To initialize OpenAI client, we'll need an API key. I hope you have one. After that, just pass it in, and now our reference to the client has the power to call the API. To write prompt templates, we're going to use the power of ChatGPT to give us the best prompt for itself. 5D chess, I know. Here's the prompt that ChatGPT gave me based on my requirements. As you can see, it's nothing fancy, but gets the job done. We filter out things like wars and politics because, let's be honest, the last thing we need is a conspiracy theory where Russia somehow ends up being responsible for the extinctions of dinosaurs. Again. For our hashtags, we'll use a simple prompt asking ChatGPT not to replace any text, but slap the hashtags in. Simple, right? Note, we're using GPT 3.5 Turbo model because it's cheaper than a week's worth of groceries in Venezuela. That's right, it costs me around 10 cents a month, even while pumping out conspiracy theories every hour. Capitalism at its finest. Let's define headlines list as an empty one and populate it later when we scrape headlines. After that, let's add list comprehension to call our prompt template generators. And here we have it. halfway there. What's left? Script the headlines and post those gems on X. Now that we've got our basic setup, we can move on to Twitter's API. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. This took me way longer than it should have because Twitter's API documentation is a hot mess. There is API v1, which is super restricted, and then there is API v2, which is slightly less restricted. But do they ever clearly mention that you can't post a tweet via API v1? Nope. And what really grinds my gears is the fact that to switch to v2, you don't just hit a different endpoint or something logical. No. It's based on the authentication parameters you pass. Maybe it's Tweepy's fault, maybe Twitter's. Honestly, at this point, I don't care. Elon, hello, could we get some real documentation with actual examples? Wait, sorry for the rant. Here's a basic client setup with all the authentication parameters that allow us to post a tweet. You'll need to grab your own from the developer's dashboard, which should be easier than understanding their docs. I hope. Once that's in place, we can use our client instance with createTweet method, passing our conspiracy as the parameter. Now, let's throw in a good old try-catch block to handle any exceptions that might pop up while posting. I'm looking at you, future API errors. Congratulations, you've survived the Twitter's API gauntlet. If I were you, I'd stick to Tweepy's documentation. It's honestly more useful than Twitter's. Now for the fun part, scraping juicy headlines. This is probably the easiest section. And if you ever wanted to collect the kind of nonsense that keeps Aunt Karen's Facebook group frothing at the mouth, you're gonna love this. Let's start with BBC. Like I said earlier, we're using HTTPX and LXML to scrape the web, and if you think there are better options, I don't really care. I've already committed to this combo. You can fight me in the comments later. Now let's back up for a second and think about our plan here. Sure, we could scrape the homepage and grab some random headlines, but that's like ordering plain bread at a restaurant. Why not kick it up a notch? Let's hit different category pages like news, innovation, sports, and similar. This way we get a spicy selection of headline to fuel our chaos. We'll first need a list of endpoints for each category. It was stupidly easy to grab these, so here's the list. Admire while you can. Next, we'll iterate over each URL and call HTTPX get method with the some real headers. Oh, and don't worry about their anti-scraping detection. It's about as effective as a screen door on a submarine. I mean, it's there, but is it really? After we grab the HTML, we feed it into LXML's HTML module to generate a nice tree of data. Then we hit it with XPath. Yeah, XPath. It's like Regex weird cousin, but honestly, once you figured it out, it's surprisingly useful and easy. Now we'll throw all of the extracted headlines into a list, log how many we've got, and then return one at random. Sure, I could have used random choice method here without an S, but I left it this way to give us some flexibility later if we want to return multiple headlines. Alright, let's call this function where we defined our empty list of headlines earlier. And guess what? We're nearly done. All that's left is to test it, sit back, and watch the world slowly descend into chaos. Ain't it beautiful? Alright, we've got everything we need to generate our first conspiracy. If we run the code as is, it'll generate a template for the randomly chosen headline, which is fine, I guess. But we're here for the real deal, unhinged, tinfoil hat conspiracies from the ChatGPT. Now we call on our trusty OpenAI client and use chat completion's create method to get a response. This will give us the conspiracy, and because we're responsible internet citizens, we've set some rules to keep it short enough for a tweet. It's all pretty simple, which might explain why AI startups are popping out faster than your grandmother's Facebook friend requests. Now, we'll modify our glorious list comprehension to not only generate the prompt templates, but also to generate actual conspiracies and sprinkle in some hashtags using our new functions. And yes, I said list comprehensions. If anyone ever tells you that cramming logic into a list comprehension is a bad idea, just show them this masterpiece. And finally, we'll iterate through our conspiracy-filled list and call post to Twitter function for each one. Alright, let's run this bad boy and see what happens. Huh, that's weird. I swear I set the rules in the chat completion call to generate an answer within 230 characters. Apparently, ChatGPT isn't just bad at counting calories, it's bad at counting characters too. It will just spit out a conspiracy longer than a Twitter thread about why pineapple belongs in pizza. Now, the logical solution here would be to force GPT into compliance with some clever system messages. or just throw money at a framed portrait of Elon and unlock the extended tweet limit. But where's the fun in that? Nope. We're going to embrace the janky solution known to coders, chunking. Think of chunking like slicing a big conspiracy into bite-sized pieces. And because we're civilized people here, we won't cut sentences in half. We don't need a bot tweeting the aliens landed in Part 2, Ohio. That's how you get unfollow. Instead, each chunk will be its own tweet, all nicely threaded together into one chaotic masterpiece. Buckle up, we're about to get real technical. In this function, we take big text blob and split it into chunks. We've got chunk size set to 250 characters by default, enough for a tweet, but feel free to tweak it if you like to live dangerously. Next, we split the text into sentences using some regex wizardry. This magic ensures that we don't end up cutting off in the middle of a sentence, because again, we're not savages here. Then, we construct each chunk. For every sentence, if it fits within the correct chunk size limit, we add it. If it doesn't, we stash that chunk, start a new one, and keep going until everything nicely chopped. Finally, we check if there is any leftover text in the last chunk and add it to the list. Easy, right? Well, maybe not easy, but definitely doable. Phew, that was a workout. But now we can go back to our post to Twitter function and spice it up a bit. First, we'll split our conspiracy into chunks by calling our new chunking function. Then we'll post the first chunk as a tweet and start the response. Now here, where it gets good. We'll grab the tweet ID from that response, and for each chunk after that, we'll post it as a reply to the original tweet, threading the whole thing together like some kind of mad scientist social media experiment. We override the tweet ID each time so it always points to the last one we posted. And there you have it. Your conspiracy theory spread across tweets like a beautiful mess. Alright, let's test it and watch the chaos unfold. Well, there you have it. We have scraped, generated, chunked, and threaded our way to Twitter glory. The conspiracy bot is live and ready to flood the internet with chaotic wisdom. Is it perfect? Nah. Is it hilarious? Absolutely. I hope you had as much fun as I did making this ridiculous creation, because who doesn't love a little bit of chaos? If you enjoyed this chaotic adventure into bot building madness, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss my next bizarre coding project. Drop a comment below if you have an idea for the next insane project we should create, or if you just want to fight me over my library choices. Either way, I'm here for it. And hey, if you really want to dive deeper, join the community over on Discord, where we're constantly sharing weird coding projects, tips, and plenty of memes. Until the next time, stay quirky, keep coding, and may your Twitter bots never get banned.